They called her an angel of mercy. But behind her calm eyes and steady hands, she carried secrets that could destroy armies. By day, she healed the wounded. By night, she risked everything to help win a war she was never meant to fight. This is the untold story of the nurse who spied on the Nazis. It was the spring of 1943. France had been under German occupation for nearly 3 years. The streets of Paris no longer echoed with laughter, only the sharp rhythm of marching boots and the bark of orders shouted in a foreign tongue. Every home, every shop, every face seemed to live under the shadow of suspicion. In the small town of Rouen, just north of Paris, a field hospital stood at the edge of a ruined street. The sign above the door read, Hôpital Sainte-Marie, once a place of healing, now a place of secrets. Inside, rows of wounded soldiers lay on cots, both German and French. The smell of blood mixed with the faint scent of iodine. Among the nurses moving quietly between the beds was a young woman named Clara Duval. To the occupying forces, she was just another nurse, polite, obedient, and unremarkable. But to a select few in the French resistance, she was something far more dangerous. She was a messenger, a spy, and a lifeline between the living and the free. Clara had been trained as a nurse in Paris before the war. She dreamed of becoming a doctor one day, of saving lives and seeing the world. But when the Nazis invaded, her dreams crumbled along with her city. Her brother, a resistance fighter, was captured in 1941 and never seen again. From that moment on, Clara's war was personal. At first, her resistance was small, hiding wounded partisans, slipping bandages and antibiotics out of the hospital, smuggling letters through supply convoys. But in early 1943, she was approached by a British agent operating under the Special Operations Executive, the shadow branch of Allied intelligence that recruited women as spies, couriers, and saboteurs. The agent's name was Captain James Whittaker, an American-born operative working with the British. He saw something in Clara: calm under pressure, sharp memory, the ability to move unseen in plain sight. He gave her a simple radio transmitter, barely larger than a loaf of bread, and taught her how to use it. From that day on, Clara's hospital bed became her battlefield. Every night, when the wounded finally slept and the hallways fell silent, she would close the door to her tiny room, lift a loose floorboard, and pull out the small radio set. The signal was weak, the danger immense. One wrong frequency could bring the Gestapo to her door. She used the code name Nightingale, sending short bursts of Morse code across the airwaves. Each message carried information stolen from overheard conversations, patient lists, troop movements, or cargo manifests she glimpsed in the hospital office. Her reports helped Allied bombers strike ammunition trains, intercept supply routes, and rescue captured agents. She was saving lives in ways no one around her could ever imagine. By day, Clara continued her work, calm and kind. German officers would often visit the wards, tipping their hats politely to the brave French nurse. She would smile faintly, pretending not to understand their German too well, though she understood every word. The hospital's chief physician, Dr. Weber, was a German doctor loyal to the Reich. He admired Clara's dedication, but he also watched her carefully. He had once been a surgeon in Berlin before the war, proud, methodical, and suspicious by nature. He didn't trust anyone, not even his own staff. One afternoon, Weber noticed Clara examining a file meant for German command only. Her heart froze when his shadow fell across the papers. "Curious, Fräulein?" he asked. She smiled softly, replying, "Only about the healing, doctor." He stared at her for a moment too long before walking away. That night, Clara didn't sleep. She knew the walls were closing in. For weeks afterwards, the tension grew. The resistance network she worked with was being hunted. Several operatives in nearby towns had been arrested and executed. Her radio transmissions had to stop. For nearly a month, she could only send short coded messages hidden inside medical reports. It wasn't enough. Then came June 1944. Rumors spread that the Allies were preparing something massive, the invasion of France. Every fragment of information mattered. Clara received orders from London. Identify the German medical convoys being used to disguise troop movements near the Normandy coast. It was her most dangerous mission yet. Under the pretense of restocking medical supplies, Clara traveled with the German convoy toward the northern coast. Along the way, she quietly noted the markings on fuel trucks and troop transports disguised as ambulances. When they stopped for the night, she memorized license numbers, unit insignias, and direction of travel. Returning to Rouen, she transmitted the information piece by piece. Her messages reached Allied headquarters in London and helped confirm the locations of hidden German divisions near Cannes. Her coded signals contributed to the precision of the D-Day bombing routes that followed days later. But success came with a price. 2 nights after the Normandy landings, the Gestapo raided the hospital. They had intercepted a signal from the area, one that matched her frequency. The walls shook as soldiers stormed the building. Clara's radio was hidden under the floorboards, but her hands trembled as she heard boots in the hallway. Dr. Weber entered her room with 2 officers. "Search everything," he ordered. Clara stood silently, her pulse hammering in her ears. One of the soldiers lifted the mattress, another tapped along the floor. When they neared the loose board, she knew it was over. Then fate intervened. At that very moment, air raid sirens screamed across the sky. The city was under Allied attack. The lights flickered, dust rained from the ceiling, and chaos erupted. The soldiers ran for shelter. Dr. Weber shouted orders and fled. Clara stood frozen, the sound of explosions masking the pounding of her heart. That night, as the bombers roared overhead, Clara destroyed her radio. She burned every paper, every code, every trace of what she had done. And before dawn, she disappeared. For weeks, no one knew what happened to her. Some said she was killed in the bombing. Others whispered she escaped with the resistance toward the Allied lines. The truth would not surface for decades. When the war ended, the ruins of Sainte-Marie Hospital were cleared by Allied engineers. Beneath the rubble of what had been the nurses' quarters, they found a small piece of twisted metal, a broken radio coil, and a burned fragment of paper with the letters NG-13. To most, it meant nothing. To the few who recognized her code name, it was confirmation. Nightingale was real. In 1946, Captain Whitaker, the American officer who had recruited her, returned to France. He visited the ruins, standing in silence where her room once stood. He later wrote in his report, "She never fired a weapon, never wore a uniform, but her courage saved hundreds. The enemy feared soldiers. They never feared the nurses. That was their mistake." Clara Duval's name was never officially recorded among the resistance dead. No medal, no headline, no grave. Her story lived only in whispers, in the quiet gratitude of soldiers who never knew who saved them, and in the coded reports that changed the course of the war. Years later, in the 1970s, an old man renovating a farmhouse outside Rouen found a small box hidden beneath the floor. Inside was a faded photograph of a young woman in a nurse's uniform and a small silver locket containing 2 initials, C.D. On the back of the photograph was a single line written in English, "For those who heal and fight in silence." That photograph now rests in the archives of the Musée de la Résistance in Cannes, labeled simply Unknown Nurse, 1943 to 1944. But historians who have studied her signals, the hospital logs, and the intercepted transmissions know the truth. They call her the Invisible Angel of Normandy. Her story is more than one woman's secret mission. It is a reminder of thousands like her, nurses, couriers, code breakers, and spies, who fought in ways the world rarely sees. They didn't wear medals or march in parades. Their weapons were whispers, bandages, and courage. Clara Duval, the nurse who spied on the Nazis, was one of them. She fought her war in silence. She saved lives with every risk she took. And though history may have forgotten her name, her courage still echoes through every story we choose to remember.